Hey everyone, my name is Hayden. I am a coach and energy worker, and the goal of my channel is to help empower you using skills and tools that I've learned along my path. On my channel, I share my experiences with psychosis, with spiritual development, and anything I might be working on in the moment. If that sounds interesting to you, then consider checking out some of my other videos and maybe subscribing. If you would like to work with me one-on-one, I do offer card reading sessions, coaching sessions, and energy work sessions. If any of those sound appealing to you, just message me on my Instagram or my email address, which will both be in the description below. Before I get into the content of the video, I just want to preface that I am not a licensed mental health provider. Everything that I talk about in this video is going to be from my experiences working with families from a coaching perspective, as well as my own experiences with psychosis. Let's get into the video. So this is a topic that's been highly requested. I've had a few people reach out to me specifically requesting this, as well as putting comments in the comment section about this. So I figured I would make another video for this because I feel like my last video wasn't quite clear. So I just want to quickly go down my outline to sort of give you guys an idea of what we'll be talking about and what different aspects I'll be hitting on. So the first one is going to be taking care of your needs and getting the support you need. Second one's going to be managing your expectations of the situation. Third one's going to be trying to stay neutral with their delusions and narrative. Fourth is to the best of your ability connect the client or whoever you're working with resources that will support their understanding of themselves and development. And then number 5 is being patient with the process. So we're going to start with number 1 because I think it's something that gets overlooked a lot of times from a caretaker role, which is to get the care that you need and to take care of yourself. A lot of times with something like psychosis, especially if it's something that's happened in a family or someone that's close to you, it's not only difficult for the person going through the process, but it's difficult for the family and the people that it affects near them. So a lot of times, a lot of focus goes to the actual client or the person who is struggling with a psychosis, and people forget that they also need help and they also need to reach out to resources. So that's something that I would just remind you to think about if you are in a role where you are maybe taking care of someone with psychosis or was affected by somebody who is experiencing psychosis close to you, making sure that you're getting those resources, reaching out, finding communities, finding support you need in order to take care of yourself and learn about what to do from here. So the second thing is going to be managing your expectations of the situation. So this is something that I've run into a lot working with families who have gone through psychosis, and just in general when things are difficult. Obviously the thing we're going to go to is to hopefully expect that they'll get better, right? That things will change, that they'll just come out of the psychosis and things will progress in the way that we hope. So that can create a lot of pressure on the situation, and I understand that sort of desire for something different in the future can be hopeful in some ways, and there's nothing wrong with having hope, but holding on to that reality that someday they may be different or changed, or maybe be able to get through this, can be really burdensome and can be a barrier in the healing process. And so it's important to have hope for the future, but also let go of the expectation that they might get to the place where you think they should or should not be. It is a difficult process, but being able to kind of accept where that person is in the moment and being able to recognize the process and where it is right now and be grateful to some degree, if possible, for what you do have right now in this moment, instead of trying to create an idealized future that may never happen. It could happen, but focusing on what is present here now and working with that is going to be much more sustainable and much more productive than trying to live in the future or live in the past of how things were or how things should be in the future. So that's something to keep in mind. The third category is trying to be neutral with their delusions, and the narrative. This one's kind of tricky because it's a skill that needs to be learned, and you're going to make mistakes in this, and that's okay. It's a learning process. The biggest thing is understanding that their narrative, from a psychosis perspective, having been through psychosis myself, the narrative and the delusions for these people is kind of like their belief system and their worldview. Challenging it is probably going to make them dig their heels in and like defend it more and get kind of maybe possibly kind of argumentative or combative with it. And then hyping it up might just like bring that energy level up and like feed that narrative and bring it up. So learning how to be neutral is kind of difficult. So we're not dismissing it. But we're also not like feeding it. So we're staying really neutral. Redirecting is a great tool. And this is where talking to a therapist or a professional might be a great idea to help you how to navigate or how to interact with the person you're taking care of. But redirecting for me when I was going through my psychosis was a great tool that my parents used. So if I was kind of in a delusion or a narrative, they would be like, hey, like, can you come help me, muck the stalls in the barn, or can you help me cook, or doing something physical that allowed me to like focus on something else other than like the narrative that was in my head. So in some ways it's kind of similar to like a meditation where you're not necessarily like engaging with the thoughts, you're noticing kind of where they are and then choosing a focus that you would like them to focus on, or something that like maybe is not related to whatever narrative or storyline that they're going to, but something that's physical can be helpful because it anchors them into the moment, and it can sort of bring the narrative to a different place. And also with that, remember that you're not in control of their narrative, so you may redirect, and it may work, it may not. Don't judge yourself or don't be down like if the way you're interacting with them is not like producing a certain outcome. Remember to just focus on what you can control and making sure that you are staying safe as well. So we're trying to create a safe environment for them, but it also has to be safe for you too. So number 4 is, to the best of your ability, connecting the person going through psychosis with resources that can help them to understand themselves and where they are in their process. So the reason I'm framing it that way, to understand where they are and where they are in their process, is because I'm not focusing on a specific destination or goal. My goal for them is for them to be able to have a resource if they want to be able to explore and understand where they are in their development, to have that resource. Focusing on putting pressure on like, oh, I want you to be here, I want you to have a job, I want you to be in this situation, can be a lot of pressure, especially for somebody who's dealing with a lot. It's not always going to happen at the pace that we want to. So giving them that space and that opportunity to explore and to grow and to learn. But at the end of the day, it's going to be their choice if that's something they want to do. Just like if someone is kind of addicted to substances or kind of in a delusional state, as far as like a cult or something like that, it's very similar. At some point, somebody has to decide that, hey, this isn't helping me anymore, and I'm going to choose to actively disengage with that and choose a different narrative. So that's only something that they will be able to decide for themselves, but you can create an environment that is conducive so when they do decide to do that, then they have the tools and they have the resources to be able to go through that process and unfold through that. The last step, or the last category for this video, is being patient. So this is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. Everybody's timeline looks different, everybody's development looks different, and everyone's destination is different. So really being patient with yourself as a caretaker, understanding that you will make mistakes, you will have moments where you get frustrated, you may have moments where you're angry, you may have moments where you are maybe depressed yourself or struggling with things that yourself. And that is unfortunately part of the process, especially when it comes to these like really intense states that have a huge ripple effect to people around them. Really being patient with yourself and the person you're taking care of and making sure you're creating that space for both you and that individual, and knowing that it's not easy. There's nothing about it that's easy. There's so many different layers and levels that play into it. It's really just taking one day at a time and just picking a couple things to work on and a couple things to focus on, and really focusing on those priorities and just working on those. It's a process. It takes time, and it's definitely something that everyone needs help with. So I hope this video was helpful. I tried to cover some of the main points, and if there's any questions that you have about what I talked about, or you'd like me to delve deeper into a specific category, feel free to let me know. I just wanted to cover like the main topics, because I think those are things that I've noticed over time and things that might be helpful for somebody who's maybe looking for some direction or guidance to go in from, with having somebody close to them who's going through psychosis or has gone through it recently. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope that was helpful, like I said. And as always, guys, make sure to seek your truth and to take time for yourself. And I will catch you in my future videos. Bye for now.